Welcome back to Ben's Book Club. Today we are diving into the book Psycho-Cybernetics. Now, this is a book from 1960 that chances are you've probably never actually read, but I can almost guarantee you've run into its ideas. You see, this book, written by a plastic surgeon of all people, became the secret blueprint for pretty much the entire modern self-help industry. And it all boils down to one incredibly powerful central idea.
So this is it. This is the big idea that the whole book is built on. Maxwell Maltz says that deep inside every single one of us, there's this mental blueprint. He calls it the self-image. And don't think of this as some vague, fuzzy feeling. No. He wants you to picture it like the actual concrete foundation of a house. It literally dictates the size, the shape, the whole scope of your life. It sets these hard limits on what you believe you're capable of.
But you know, what's fascinating is where this idea came from. It wasn't dreamed up on a psychologist's couch. Nope. It was born in a place you'd never expect, the operating room of a 1950s plastic surgeon. See, Dr. Maltz was amazing at his job. He could give people the perfect nose, erase scars they'd hated their whole lives. But then he started to notice something weird, something that didn't quite add up. The change on the outside didn't always create a change on the inside.
And this observation, well, it led him to what he called the plastic surgeon's paradox. It was this puzzle that honestly kicked off a revolution in how we think about changing ourselves. And this is a question that goes way beyond just surgery. It gets right to the core of why so many of us feel stuck, no matter how much we try to change things on the outside.
Okay, so picture this. This is what Maltz was seeing every day. He'd do a perfect surgery, a total transformation, and the patient would look in the mirror and see the exact same ugly person. They literally couldn't see the change. But then he'd do a tiny, almost invisible fix on someone else, and bam, that person would just bloom with this incredible new confidence. Their whole life would change. And that's when it hit him. The real problem, the real scar, wasn't on their face at all. It was in their mind. It wasn't skin deep.
So, if changing the outside wasn't the answer, Maltz knew he had to look inward. And what he found there? Well, it was the master key. He discovered our hidden blueprint, that powerful and usually unconscious self-image that's secretly running the whole show.
So here's Maltz's big breakthrough. We all carry around this subconscious picture of who we are, and that picture sets the rules for everything. If your self-image is "I'm a C student," you'll find a way to pull a C, even when you could have gotten an A. If you see yourself as the awkward one at parties, guess what? You'll be awkward, no matter how hard you try not to be. It's like a computer program running in the background of your mind 24/7, making sure that everything you do lines up with its core code.
And he had this absolutely brilliant analogy for it. A thermostat. Think about it. If your internal thermostat is set to, say, 70 degrees of success, your mind will work tirelessly to keep you right there. So what happens if you land a huge promotion and the temperature shoots up to 85? Well, your subconscious kicks on the air conditioning, self-doubt, procrastination, imposter syndrome to bring you right back down to 70. It's not trying to be mean. It's just a machine trying to keep you consistent with the setting.
Okay, so how does this internal system, this thermostat, actually work? To explain this amazing, automatic, goal-seeking part of our brain, Maltz had to borrow a word from the world of engineering and rockets. He called it the servo-mechanism.
This right here is the cybernetics part of psycho-cybernetics. Your brain and your nervous system, they team up to form this servo-mechanism. And the best way to think about it is like a heat-seeking missile. It locks onto a target and it just goes. It automatically corrects its course until it hits whatever it was aimed at. And here's the really important part. The missile doesn't judge the target. It couldn't care less if you aim it at land my dream job or prove I'm a total failure. It just follows the instructions.
And this just shows so clearly how that mechanism can work for you or, against you. Maltz basically said we have these two systems inside us constantly competing. On one side, you've got the success mechanism. It runs on a clear sense of direction, on confidence. It's what steers you towards what you want. But on the other side, there's the failure mechanism. And it runs on stuff like frustration, insecurity, and resentment. It actually treats those feelings as the target and flies you straight into situations that will create even more of them. So the big question is, which one are you aiming?
So that leads to the million-dollar question, right? If we've got this powerful autopilot inside of us, how do we stop it from flying us straight into a mountain? How do we give it a better target? Well, Maltz's answer was surprisingly simple and honestly revolutionary.
The secret is all wrapped up in this really fascinating quirk of our nervous system, something that, by the way, modern science has totally confirmed. Here it is.
Your brain literally cannot tell the difference between a real experience and an experience you vividly imagine. On a brain scan level, they look almost identical. So imagining yourself sinking a perfect free throw lights up the same parts of your brain as actually doing it. And that's the key. That's the back door for reprogramming your entire self-image.
So Maltz took this idea and turned it into this practical, daily technique. He called it the theater of the mind. It's basically 3 steps. First, you just find a quiet place and get totally, completely relaxed. Second, you create a mental movie. And you have to be detailed here. Don't just think about acing that job interview, see it. See the room, see their faces, see yourself answering perfectly. And then step 3, and this is the most crucial part of all, you have to feel it. Feel the confidence, feel the relief, feel the success as if it's happening right now. That feeling is the new target you're giving to that heat-seeking missile.
All right, let's zoom out a bit and talk about the legacy of this book because it's pretty incredible. It's amazing how this one book, written by a surgeon way back in 1960, basically became the source code for the entire self-help world and totally changed how we think about what's possible. I mean, the impact has been just massive. Over 30 million copies have been sold worldwide. But even crazier is how its ideas have just seeped into our culture. So many of us are using its techniques today without even realizing where they came from. Seriously, Maltz was decades ahead of his time. You can just trace the influence. In the 80s, you see his ideas all over things like NLP and in the work of people like Tony Robbins. Fast forward to the 2000s, and his core concepts are right there in growth mindset theory. And today, go find me one elite athlete or a top-tier performance coach who doesn't use visualization. You can't. That technique is pure psycho-cybernetics.
And what's really interesting is that people still debate this book today. On one hand, you have critics who are like, isn't this whole machine metaphor a little old-fashioned? Or couldn't this visualization thing just lead to daydreaming instead of actually doing something? And look, those are fair questions. But then you look at the other side. The guy basically predicted the science of neuroplasticity long before we could even prove it. And you just can't argue with the results. These techniques are used by the best of the best, from athletes to CEOs.
And all of this brings us to one final, really powerful question that the book leaves you with. Think about it. For most of us, that inner thermostat, that self-image, it was installed a long, long time ago by parents, teachers, maybe a bad experience in school. It's a blueprint that other people drew for you. So the ultimate challenge for Maltz is this. Are you ready to grab the pencil and start drawing your own? Subscribe so you don't miss an episode.